out, and away we go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Formula One True North, the Canadian Formula One podcast. We are here, back with the boys, Drew, Thomas, Ed, talking about Hungary. And Jesus, that was a little awkward. Anyone else feel a little uncomfortable?
Yeah, wildly.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was... And it wasn't just one team. It wasn't just one driver. It was like across the field. Lots of awkward moments, especially near the end. Lots to talk about. Let's get into it, Drew. Quick thoughts on what was an eventful Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well, it didn't disappoint, that's for sure. Well, we can start there. It was how do you explain something like this? It was epic to watch, uncomfortable in many moments. Team radio absolutely made this race unbelievable. I think without the team radio, without Crofty's comments, we're going to go there at some point in time today, I hope, because Crofty was just absolutely outrageous. And there's some backlash online because of it too. But Crofty, you keep doing you, buddy. If you're listening to this, and of course you are, because we're the best and so are you. So yeah, I think it was an awesome race. You know what? It's nice to have a couple of Brits on the podium. You see Lando doing his thing, and Oscar obviously picking up his first dub, which is always nice. And it's nice to see Lewis Hamilton up there. And, you know, there was obviously some clashes on track physically, and there was some emotional clashing happening there too, which got super awkward and
a little verbal abuse every once in a while.
Yeah. And those McLaren guys, they put a lot of trust into to Lando. I don't know if they were realizing that he's also fighting for a championship at this point, but, you know, we're going to get into that. But yeah, what do you guys got?
Well, the race in general was definitely very entertaining. Team radio, yes, 100%. But I want to address the elephant in the room that Thomas and I were correct with our predictions last episode. We were correct. McLaren didn't lose the lead. Just want to say that. Want to bring that out. You were correct. I'll take whatever wins I can get from that. But yeah, a lot of awkward moments. I was waiting for a multi-21 situation. If anyone knows what a multi-21 situation is, there was a issue with team orders back in the day with Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel. And Sebastian Vettel didn't listen. And I guess I was hoping that was going to be the case for Lando Norris. But no, he played by the team. And I feel bad for the guy because he could have won more points. Got closer to Max, with Max being like, that's another thing that we were probably going to be talking about today. But yeah, good race.
I said last race, I wish, we had more races like last race, and boy, did I get my wish. Yeah, it definitely did deliver. Seeing McLaren, seeing the different people on the podium just besides, regular old Max Verstappen, that was the highlight. Different winners, different people on the podium. The race itself was very, very eventful. Lots of clashes, team radio, team orders. Man, it sure delivered. So we're going to get into more of it, but I loved it. I loved the race.
So I have a couple of things to address right now because there's so much to talk about here. But first of all, your predictions last week saying what are the chances that McLaren would blow the lead, not lose the lead. And, I think it can be argued that they blew something
Semantics.
This weekend.
Something was blown, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So I'm not giving you the full win on that. As far as a standard race goes, like, this race was as standard as it can get. Like, no red flag, no yellow flags, no red flags, no big accidents, no weather, no nothing. It had all the makings of an incredibly boring race. But thankfully, as Drew pointed out, between the commentary and the team radio, like, it just came to life that last third of the race. I wasn't listening to the Sky Sports stream. I was listening to the F1 live stream. So I had a bit of a different perspective, but David Coulthard was commentating, and he had a similar situation. I think it was with Raikkonen back in like 97 that he kept referencing, and he was audibly uncomfortable in the booth listening to
the back and forth between Lando and his engineers. We're going to get into that. You know what? Might as well get into it right now. So obviously, Piastri came away with his first official win. You know, he had a sprint win prior to this. Now he's got his first GP win. I feel bad for the guy because I feel like it was a little tainted from everything that happened over that last little bit. You know, it was hard for him to probably celebrate as much as Oscar celebrates, as excited as that guy gets. I feel like, you know, he was probably at an 8 in the car when he won, but I would have loved to see him at a 10. Let's talk a little bit about that and the calls that led to this, you know, kind of sad celebration that was his first win.
Oscar came out of the gates hot, right? Like Lando had the pole position, which was awesome. Congratulations. It was further proof that McLaren has the best all around car right now, hands down. And, you know, to see him put it in front of Max and Lando real quick off that first turn was fantastic. He squeezed up there real good, got away, and then started pulling away in a big way. Like he was 2.5 seconds by like the 10th lap, and it was nice, and he was comfortable. And I can totally understand how McLaren would do something like what they did with, you know, the pits, and how they were worried about the undercut with Lewis, and they were constantly worried about somebody else getting up in there and making a mess out of things, Max coming up, whatever the case was. So they obviously made the best strategy call for the team. But what that did was put Lando and Oscar into a situation where, you know, you have two young guns who are trying to prove themselves in a big way. And these guys are both trying to make a name for themselves, and they are, you know, trying to be that number one seed. And, you know, if you really think about it, Lando only has one win. And, you know, Oscar getting his first win, do I think Oscar deserved it? 100%. And if things played out differently and he was the number one seed, they, you know, and it wasn't a team sport, they would have played it differently. And I think Oscar still would have won it anyway. But to your point, Walker, does he have like a win with an asterisk beside it? Yeah, kinda. That sucks. You know, nobody wants a W with an asterisk, especially your first one. Right. So I think they kind of stole that from him a little bit. You know what I mean? And that sucks. But a W is a W. You got to take it. McLaren was looking spicy the whole way through. Obviously, you know, they were making the right calls, and they obviously had confidence in Lando to a point where, you know, the pit wall knew that if they asked for it back, they were going to get it. And Mr. Zach Brown himself had said, you know what, if Lando didn't push back and didn't question it and didn't fight us a little bit, I would be worried, because I want drivers who want to win. And so the fact that, you know, Zach Brown was asked in the interviews afterwards, like, hey, like, why didn't Lando just give it up right away? And he kind of just defended him a little bit, which is nice. And I think that that's good. And just said, like, listen, these guys want to win, and he should win. And that I'd be more worried if he didn't say that. So, you know, hats off to Lando. Obviously, that kind of hurts a little bit. You could see the defeat in his face. Do I think Lando should have won that race? I think he could have. You know, there was a very good chance if that race was 5 laps longer that he would have done it organically anyway. And you know, having two drivers only a couple seconds apart going into the last part of the race, Lewis was catching up, Max was catching up before he had his little incident with Max. And I think that there's so many opportunities for things to go wrong when you're trying to do a little switchback, and especially at the Hungaroring, which doesn't offer a lot of opportunities to do such things. I think it was pretty slick the way they did it, and it was a flawless little 1-2 and a little pass back of the puck. And I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was good. It was just awkward as fuck.
I feel like they were, you know, you said they had faith in him to give it back. I feel like he was definitely testing their faith. He was, you know, he was not going quietly. And based on his engineer's tone, it seemed like they were getting a little nervous over there. You know, when your engineer has to come on and say, you know, do the right thing. Like, that's the one that got me. I was like, all right, we're not playing nice right now. But Ed, what do you got?
I love that Drew actually mentioned what Zach Brown had said in terms of wanting like real winners. But it's kind of like weird when your team principal says the other side of the coin. Where, I don't know if you guys had noticed, Andrea Stella kept on saying that if you're not a team player within the McLaren F1 team, there's no place for you in the team. He said that multiple times, and not just for this race, but for previous races as well. So it's kind of like weird in a sense that the CEO and the team principal kind of have differences in opinion in terms of how the team environment should be. But if it was in my case, like if I was Lando Norris, I would have still gone for it because I had the lead. It was the strategy of the team to undercut Piastri. He didn't say anything. He didn't mention that I need to pit now or I need to switch tires now. It was organically handed to him by the team. So it kind of sets a weird precedence now for the team that if there would be a situation in the future wherein it's totally reversed, Piastri is going for a driver's championship and Lando some sort is behind him and made some sort of an undercut, or some strange reason wherein Piastri is in front but Lando needs to win the race. Would Piastri give the position to him? So it's again, I'm talking about more towards the future, but it's a weird situation right now. Like that, it's awkward at this point.
And I quote, so Will Joseph, his race engineer, said, I don't know if you guys remember this specifically. We said, Lando, he can't catch you up. You've proved your point, and it really doesn't matter. And then he goes on to say, I'm trying to protect you, mate. I promise. I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to protect you. He said that 3 times in like quick succession. And so to me, it was like, protect you from what? From yourself? Like, I'm protecting you from like taking this W and getting in all kinds of shit when you get back into the pit lane. Like, what is he protecting you from? It seemed dark and mysterious, and I was here for it.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know what?
Really weird.
With what happened with McLaren, I have a lot of mixed emotions. Both of them performed really, really well. What happened between Lando and Piastri in regards to the pitting, I think McLaren kind of fumbled it up a little bit. Not sure if it was intentional or not. But when Lando took the first place and, Piastri was trying to catch up and team orders were like, Lando, give it back or switch whenever you can, and kept on coming and kept coming and coming. It reminded me, honestly, of a little bit of Max Verstappen vibes, because Piastri helped out Lando, a few times and was being the team player. Meanwhile, Lando, again, kind of got like this real racer in him, just like kind of like Max Verstappen, and wanted to win, which is great. But in the sense, me as a viewer, I kind of felt like Lando owes this to Piastri to, kind of return the favor how Piastri helped him out in the past races. But again, I get Lando, I get Piastri. But as, Ed and Drew, you said as well, this win, for Piastri does not feel like a real win. For me as a viewer, it does not feel like a real win for Piastri. For Lando, it even, it's a tough situation. It fogged them up mentally both, because it's such a clusterfuck of a strategy call near the end. So it was very interesting and hard to watch. I'm glad that Lando ended up, helping out Piastri and getting him the win, because I think that was deserved. Piastri probably would have won anyways. Maybe Lando would have caught up, but I think Piastri would have had a very, very good chance of winning. But yeah, it was honestly emotional and entertaining to watch what was happening between the McLaren, especially the last 3-4 laps.
So I think Ed, you brought up a point about Zach Brown saying one thing and Andrea Stella saying another in terms of how they want their drivers to approach. And I think you can have a team and a structure where both drivers are killers and winners and want to win, and also create like a team atmosphere where everyone is kind of working towards that common goal of elevating the team, right? We've seen it in the past with Lewis and Nico in their days at Mercedes, right? And they came together and they had their issues, but the team put down very specific rules of engagement of, when you can engage and when you can race and when you can't. And I'm thinking about all of this, and obviously I don't think anyone here is really faulting the drivers, right? Because it was the team orders that and the team strategy that put them in an awkward position. And obviously they both want to win, and maybe it played out the way it was supposed to, because Piastri would have won that race had McLaren not made that call. And I'm thinking about the mindset of McLaren from a management and strategy standpoint, thinking about some of their messages and their strategy. And I'm wondering if they are still operating strategically like a mid-pack team. And I'm asking that because with Lando, when they brought him in, it's to cover Lewis, who was, what, over 10 seconds behind at the time, right? He wasn't in an immediate risk of being undercut. They could have let Piastri go in first, Lando second, still would have come out in front. Early on in the race, I think it was probably in the first third of the race, Lando's engineer came on and said, don't worry about Piastri, even though he was chasing him for first. Your race is with Lewis, right? So I feel like they have this mid-pack mentality where they are almost looking backwards, trying to protect themselves, trying to go on the defensive instead of being more offensive, especially when you have what is arguably the best car on the field right now, what is the second best driver on track, at least in terms of in the championship. And I'm wondering if they are able to make that switch from mid-pack to top-tier team strategically so that they don't find themselves in these scenarios, because I think it was a very defensive mindset that found themselves there.
I think you nailed it on that one, dude. I think you absolutely nailed it, that they're constantly playing defense and not enough offense. Like, I think you should have been more worried, especially when you looked at their lap times. Like, those guys were far and away the faster two teams. Like, Lewis was not the fight. Like,
No.
that was, even with the pit stops, like, you would have had to have botched both of those pit stops for it to have been a problem. And, you know, Lewis and Max, we'll discuss that in a moment, but, like, you know, they were obviously doing their own thing, you know, pushing each other around, which obviously led to a bigger gap there. But yeah, ultimately, like, they were not looking forward. They were looking in their rearview mirrors all the time. And I think you're bang on. Like, that's not the way to be a winner at all. Like, your fight should always be in front of you, especially when you have that car.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go on to talking about some fighters. Let's move on to Max, because he was scrappy. To me, this was Max Verstappen circa 2020. Like, he was just going in there, throwing elbows out, diving, not giving a shit, just saying, I am going to find a way past or die trying. Thomas, I know you are a massive Max Verstappen fan. What was your take on this?
He was a whiny little bitch this race. That's what he was. Um,
Tell us how you really
honestly,
feel.
that's how I really feel. Honestly, like, as the commentator said, you know, he did not get enough sleep playing his sim races, and, you know, till 3 a.m. in the morning before the race, in the morning as well, before the race. And I think the lack of sleep got to him, and he was just losing it since the very, very beginning, where he had to give the position up. You know, he was mad at the FIA. Then things just started to go wrong his way, and he was blaming left, right, and center, everyone between. Life isn't fair. I'm Max Verstappen. I should be number one. I drive the number one car. I deserve the win. Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, unfortunately, this weekend, Max, sorry, you're not the number one driver. You don't have the number one car. People were better than you. The teams had better strategies. And, you know, you need to calm the fuck down, chill, and take it as it is. Because as Walker, you said it, this is like circa 2020, man. Like, grow up, take it like a man, race like a man. You're gonna have great weekends and you're gonna have shitty weekends. This is one of the shitty weekends. Learn from it, move on, become a better driver and a better sportsman. Become a better sportsman like opponent, I guess. That's how I really feel.
So I want to quote David Crofty. He said, I don't want to sound too critical, but Max Verstappen is sounding like a man who stayed up late last night doing a sim race, which he did, and then got up early this morning to do a sim race, which he did, rather than getting a good night's sleep in Budapest, which by the sounds of it, he probably could have done with. So Crofty pulling some big Croft energy, which I can get behind, man. I get all of that. He's getting a little bit of criticism online, and let me ask you guys this. Like, do you think that's pushing it too far? Like, do you think a racer's extracurricular activities should be anything to do with the commentary that goes on in the sporting F1 world?
Well, I think they were just trying to justify why Max was, acting that way and probably creating a narrative, and that's commentating right there. You have to add color a little bit so that you'll get more viewership, you'll get more, um, pings on your articles, pings on your website. That's pretty much it from my point of view. But like, didn't Max? There was one race in this season that he also raced the night before and won the next day. So it's just like, yeah, it's kind of unfounded, like
Well,
what Crofty had said.
so let me ask this question then. If he was out all night partying, like at the club, and he came home at whatever 8 a.m. and he drove that race, would it then this commentary be warranted? Change the activity, right? And just focus on the lack of maybe focus that he was giving to this particular race or prep, let's call it. Right? Does
I
that
think so.
mean so that warrants the commentary? I think this warrants the commentary too. I
I think
mean,
so too, yeah.
if you're there to perform and you're there to drive at the highest level, and you are not, like, everyone knows you're up all night doing whatever you're doing, you get up early, like, you're not going to be the top of your game, especially in that kind of environment. So I think it's totally fair game for Crofty. And
I'm with
I
you.
feel like
I love his sass. His sass is
yeah,
unreal.
I feel like it was just a few weeks ago we were almost commending Max on his newfound maturity and, being able to, like, win with grace and, even come in second with grace and stuff like that. And now you're seeing a pattern of Max and Red Bull not dominating. And now you're starting to see that maybe thin veneer start to crack a little bit, because at the core of it, he's still that guy from a few years ago. Like, what is he? He's 25. He's still only 25, something like that.
Yeah. He's
I don't
salty.
know. He's salty. He's just,
Yeah.
he needs to win. Yas, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of baked in trauma from his early karting days, probably. It's just bringing up all sorts of emotions, and it's not good.
With 11 races left in the season, this isn't on lock anymore. Like, the math's not mathing. Like, if Max has a couple of those, like, you add in like a DNF or, something where he has to take a grid penalty, and, the McLarens are going up 2x2x2, like, this isn't a lockdown for him anymore. And I think that reality is starting to come into play, because now, from a couple of the quotes I've read from Max in the post-race interviews, he's saying, like, I have had to drive this car harder than any point in time last year. And that's a big comment coming out of Max, right? And maybe he's driving harder because he has to, and has to because he's staying up all night sim racing. And that's cool. That's your prerogative. You're allowed to, but you got to show up on Sunday and come out in a big, big way. And I think Crofty was just pointing that out. Like, hey, buddy, are you slipping? Is your focus elsewhere? And calling him out on it. So, yeah, I'm with you on that, man, Walker.
Well, it probably just requires more focus, because you're not having a 30-second lead at the end of every race, right?
Correct.
Sorry, Thomas, what were you saying, buddy?
That, first of all, that's goddamn, Walker, that's cold. Second of all, to Drew's point, from what you said, how Max thinks maybe he hasn't got that lockdown. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Red Bull is planning to do a powertrain unit swap in the next race or two. So that's going to be interesting to see where that brings them up. If they're going to perform, if he's going to bounce back or he's not. So the next couple races are going to be definitely ones to watch out for as well.
So right now they are 51 points behind, and that is not a lot in the constructors. The constructors, 51 behind. So I mean, that race is full on. Like, they do not have that lockdown by any means. And even the drivers, what is he, 75 points down, something like that?
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyways, the point is, both are not guaranteed at this point, and maybe not even likely, because in addition to Max's hard race, Sergio had just a tough weekend. Maybe we can touch on that. Let's go over some more winners and losers from the race really quickly. Drew, any highlights or lowlights in this case?
You know what? One of my highlights, obviously, Oscar taking that W. Everyone loves a first race winner. We've had six 6 different winners or something like that this year. It's been fantastic. 7 now? Jesus, which is awesome. I love that for the sport. It's fantastic. Big W for McLaren. Obviously, you know what? Little W. Still a W, but a little W for McLaren. I love to see Lewis on the podium again. That was awesome. George just was not looking himself in terms of, catching up from the back of the pack. That Q1 exit, kind of, a little bit wishy-washy. Did they fill the car up with enough fuel? They probably could have pushed it into Q2 and likely Q3 if they played their cards right. But we talked about it last episode that, Checo has to really show up. And I was really hoping that this was going to be looking nice. And he had a fantastic Friday. And then as soon as a little bit of water came down on Saturday, he binned it super quick and, made some irreparable damage. And he had to start from the back of the grid. And that sucks. And like, even in that Red Bull, he did his absolute best, but it wasn't cutting through the pack as quickly as he needed it to be. And so, I guess big winners are going to be McLaren. Losers, I'm going to put Alpine on that block too. I think Alpine had a bad showing. You got Pierre Gasly, telling to retire the car. Like, I think we were just about halfway through the race. And that Alpine was just a bad showing for them. Bad showing. Haas was looking nice again. Got to give an honorable mention to Haas, man. Those guys are just pulling out absolute wins on that team right now, which is exciting. I always cheer for the underdog, and that's great. But big winners, McLaren. Big loser, Checo. Checo gotta go.
I don't know about the Checo thing because he started 16th, came to finish 7th. I would say that's a win compared to all of his other races, like previous races. Like, that was just...
Is that the race he needed, though?
No, he did. No, that's not. I'm going to say that that's not the race he needed. But if we're talking about just this race, like, he extended the life on those hard compound tires. Like, he extended the crap out of it to make it to where he ended with the race. So I'm reluctant to say that would be the win for me because, like, out of everyone on the grid, he had the most pressure on him for this race. Max Verstappen, he had a lot of pressure because he's used to winning, but that's typical. But everyone else on the grid, like, he had the most just like pressure, so much people talking about him, like just what you just said, Checo gotta go. Everyone feels the exact same way. And it's a broken record at this point. So in my case, for this specific race, Sergio's a win. Biggest loser for me would have to be Lando Norris. I felt bad for those team orders because, like, he looks like he would have won that, and he's been hungry for a win. He wants to run after Max. Team orders kind of like messes up everything. But then again, you know what? He still got into the points. The team got maximum points, driver and constructors. Good for them. But Lando should have gotten that win.
So this one's a little bit of a tough one because it was such an interesting race. I'm going to agree with that word. I think Sergio Perez did okay, and I think he exceeded our expectations. He was, a couple places behind Max, I think. I think that's phenomenal. You know, it wasn't a stellar weekend, wasn't anything wow per se, but I think he did a pretty good job, honestly. For McLaren, I'm not too sure to this point how I feel if it's a win or a loss. Like, it's kind of both 50-50, bittersweet. But for losers, I'm probably gonna say Ferrari didn't really perform to my expectations. I honestly thought they're gonna perform stronger. Just as you, Drew, touched up your Gasly DNF, which was a shame. And for one of the winners that I would probably pick, as I know Ed probably is going to hate me for this a little bit, would be Mr. Stroll. I mean, he finished in the points. I'm going to give him that. He did perform. You know, he did what he did. He performed. He got the last point, but hey, points are points. So I'm going to give it to him.
So I think the fact that we're considering this a win for someone like Sergio Perez says everything, because crashing out of quality and getting like a 7th place should not be a win for anyone in that car. And yeah, Max had a tough race. Yeah, he came in a little bit hot on Lewis, but I don't know if I consider this a win for Sergio. I'm going to give a win to Charles, though. You know, he had a quiet, solid race. He was just there, nothing dramatic. You know, after 2 races of not being in the points, he needed something solid like this. So he came back, got a solid 4th place. You know, and I think that was really, really good for him. Just to not have anything go wrong, because he has had a few races where whether it's the calls or the driving just has not gone his way. Losers, I'm going to go with Gasly. You know, I'm going to echo a lot of you because this is also the 2nd race. I think, you know, I think he retired pretty early actually in this race. So this race was a retirement. Last race in Great Britain was also a retirement. He didn't even start that race. I think he was going to start from the pits, but did not. So that car and that driver has had some shit luck. And I'm also going to give L to what's his face, Stroll. I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently Alonso let him by to go try and chase down Yuki, and if he wasn't able to catch Yuki by the end, he was supposed to give that place back to Fernando, which he clearly didn't. So who knows?
Nepotism
Who knows what
at
the
its
truth
finest,
is?
maybe.
Who knows? He did not follow team orders, if that
No,
was
he did not.
actually the case. But
when Daddy owns the team, I'm sure there's an asterisk on those team orders.
do you think?
I think
There's
so.
an asterisk on him as a driver.
I agree wholeheartedly.
As a driver in F1, there's an asterisk on
You
him.
know what? Let's go ahead and take this opportunity to talk about the Discord channel. Let's jump in there. If you guys haven't yet, please jump in the Discord channel. The link will be in the show notes. We got a lot of guys and gals talking about F1, and it's a fantastic spot. So if you guys are like-minded people, you want to jump in, we encourage it. That being said, I think I posted something in the Discord a little while ago talking about a YouTube channel that I'd watch, and it was kind of like a biography-ish kind of thing going over Lance Stroll's racing career. I think we should cover that in a bi-week episode because it is absolutely unreal how much money can buy you a seat in Formula One. And not just Formula One, Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula 4, karting. Like, Daddy bought him teams, partial teams, and then brought back like aged out racers to come in and sit beside them, aka Fernando Alonso, and teach them how to be a winner and pay these people obscene amounts of money to let this like little guy do his thing. It blows my mind that this is actually real. Anyways, we'll get into detail on that on a bi-week episode because I think it deserves it.
I think that deserves it as well. But my question to that, and we'll find out, is going to be how unique is that story? Or is it not unique and it's just that Lawrence owns the team, they like a little bit of flash, and you know, they are who they are. But I'd be curious to know how unique that story is, because I feel
Are
like
we
a lot
talking
of
like Mazepin, Latifi? Like, are we going to go down
we
that
can
list?
talk about all of them
I
and
think
go
we're gonna
back in
have to.
history.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna
we don't have to. Like, go back a few years, right? I
Yeah.
don't think it's, you know, Daddy like throws like a big sponsorship at the team. You know, the money talks, right? And I don't know if it's unique. They're just incredibly hateable. Well, Lance is. I feel like Lawrence has a bit of like G energy, but
He's got
like,
swag, doesn't he?
does.
He's got some old guy swag.
He does. He's just
Yeah.
like
Mafioso.
Yeah.
Very mafioso type.
Well, because their
theme.
last name's
Like,
Strolovich, right? So like they got some of that Russian oligarch money, I think. Like I don't know where it's coming from, and I'm not here to ask. I appreciate my
I don't
life
wanna
enough.
know.
Yeah, I don't want to ask questions, and that's cool. I'm fine with that. But what I will talk about is you buying your son a seat in Formula One. And you know what? Let's do some actual journalism. Let's dig into that a little bit and find out the depth of the nepotism that's happened in Formula One since origin. I'd like to know how many other drivers have got this seat for this long, because this is lengthy. This isn't like Latifi Mazepin couple seasons and out. This is like the real deal. And to afford Fernando Alonso as like a next door neighbor coach, come on, buddy.
So are we just like fixing it on nepotism, or are we talking all the way to the extent of paid drivers as well? Like I just want to clarify the lines.
I think we're talking about Daddy buying you a seat in Formula One.
Let's see where it goes. Let's see where it goes, because
And we're gonna call the episode "Zaddy, I Want a Seat" or "Zaddy, I Want to Drive."
an investigative report
Yeah.
from Formula One True North.
We're professionals here. We're professionals.
Zaddy, I Want to Drive.
Incredibly professional. So we've got Spa coming up. Fucking historic track.
I love this.
Love the track.
So much fun.
Love.
Everyone's favorite track,
Yeah, it is.
I feel like, is Spa.
Yeah. It's like Jennifer Aniston. It's everybody's favorite hottie from the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, love her or hate. Like, you can say whatever you want, but like, I know all four of us
Everybody
had for Jennifer Aniston. Yeah, 100%, dude. You can say what you want. You might have had other favorites, but you always go back to
Courtney
Jennifer
Cox
Aniston.
fan, so
You know what?
Back to
You seem like that person.
Yeah, you look like a Courtney Cox fan.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
yeah.
Thomas is probably there, like all hot and bothered for Phoebe.
That's right.
Smelly cat. Is that like your
Lisa
is that like your
Kudrow.
alarm in the morning?
I love it. I love it.
Wow, Friends references. Who knew?
Yeah, right?
Really quickly, what are we looking forward to in Spa? I feel like there's a lot to resolve still from this last race. So,
Real quick, I think that McLaren's the real deal. This for me was a race to see whether McLaren was a real front runner shooter, and they pulled out with it, and that's awesome. Now they got to keep up with it. Lando's historically good with Spa. Obviously, he's had a couple incidences with some weather, and he lost his first race win, I think, doing that. But I'm actually excited because I know Spa gets a lot of weather too, and weather always adds a little spice of life. And yeah, I'm here for it. I'm really pumped about the race, but I want to see if McLaren can pull out some dubs again and make some smarter calls, boys.
I'm gonna go with my prediction as I went with last week. I still think McLaren is gonna dominate. I think they're right now they're on a winning streak, on a roll, and they're gonna continue to bring out the punch and going to hopefully do another 1-2 finish. You know, dreaming high, but I really really hope to see that. Having said that, I think Max is going to be very very butthurt, and I think he's going to bring his A game to the track too, and I think he's going to give it all he got just to kind of show to the rest of the 19 drivers, hey, listen, I'm Max Verstappen, I still got this. I had an off weekend, but I'm fucking back. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I think that's what's going to happen. Either going to be McLaren or Max Verstappen.
I'm the same as you, Thomas, but like I really want to see now, like with everything in the negative for Max Verstappen, like I have a feeling that he's gonna win. Like even if McLaren has the fastest car, actually no quotes, they have the fastest car in the grid right now. I have a feeling that Max is gonna pull something out of the bag again and like just dominate this race. I also see Lewis Hamilton still being in the podium, and if there is like lots of clashing between Lando or Piastri and Max, Lewis may come home with a win on this one. So I'm looking forward to the race, looking forward to how they all attack Eau Rouge, and super excited and see what happens.
I'm looking forward to watching Red Bull continue to implode. I'm really enjoying this. It's just fun to watch. For no other reason that they were so dominant for so long that it's just, I like to see the cracks kind of appear in the foundation and just see what happens next. So we'll see if he bounces back. For my own entertainment, I hope he doesn't. And we'll see what happens with that team, because I think it's going to be intriguing to see what happens when that team faces pressure after having, those years of incredible dominance, and having to, I don't want to say not work for it. They've obviously worked hard for it, but, for those wins to come relatively easy to them. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Spa next week, lots of fun. So yeah, we'll be back to recap it all next week.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So, boys, we want to move on to what are the chances?
Yeah.
Really
Our
quickly,
newest
new
favorite
segment. What
I
are the
love
chances?
this new segment. Let's go.
Oh wow, so enthusiastic.
Yeah, get
Let's
behind
go.
it, man. Yeah, some new,
Even
some
Thomas,
fresh.
look at what Thomas is smiling. Look at that.
Let's
Go
go.
That's
check out
harder
the
to come by
YouTube just
than
for
a
the smile.
yeah.
Let's
That's harder
go.
to come by than a Logan Sargent win.
That's not that hard. Okay, really quickly. So obviously, trouble in paradise at Red Bull right now. Max does not seem like a happy camper. What are the chances he ends up at Mercedes next year? Toto swooping in to be that beautiful Austrian angel to take him out of.
I saw Andrea Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes paddock this week. I really don't think that that's going to happen. I think they're a little too chummy with him. They're obviously trying to change the FIA rules to get his ass at an F1 seat. So I think the writing's on the wall in terms of that. Would I love to see it? Hell yeah. That'd be so sick to see. What a Netflix would just be like, love it up on that. I'm so glad my hand movements were cut off by the camera. But yeah, they were they were all excited about that. But yeah, I give a 0% chance on that one.
I would go with there's a good chance. There is a good chance. Why? Looking at the factors, Adrian Newey's gone. For 2025, 2026, there would be a really big transition in terms of design, engineering, and then possibly a new engine for Red Bull. Good for them that they're going to have their own engine. Good for them that they have everything put together for their team. With that said, would they have the same performance? Would they have the same edge as the past few years? Whereas Mercedes now is starting to climb up. They figured out some weird system in terms of trying to catch up to the rest of the grid, and their performance is up there. And ever since before, Toto has had, and I'm sorry for using this term, but has had a massive hard on for Max Verstappen. So I think there is.
Did
I love the term.
he just jacked off on camera and you're
Yeah. And you're apologizing for using a term.
I try to be proper.
He literally just came in his pants and you're here.
Fuck it hell. Gotta have a little
But yeah,
fun.
I have a feeling that it's going to happen. I think so. Kimi Antonelli, probably a few years down the road, he'll probably get a Williams seat. And I'd like to see Max Verstappen in Mercedes, the Silver Arrows car. So
I'm going to make this short, quick, and sweet. I think there's a 19% chance of Max Verstappen going to Mercedes. Why? Because one word.
Number.
You're welcome, Drew. This was just for you. One word, just because loyalty. I think he's so loyal to Red Bull. He's loyal to Helmut Marko. I think he's staying. I just don't see him moving to Mercedes or any other team in the next year to 2 years easily. I think he's locked down with Red Bull.
I love that you've given him an 81% loyalty rate, though. Because he's still.
I also loved how you framed it that there was 19% chance that he was leaving, and then reversed the analysis so that it's like.
But he's so loyal. He's so
loyal. He's not going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's not. Well, he's not going to Mercedes. I can tell you that much. And I feel like Toto is just. I almost feel like he's more like catfishing him. He's just doing it to fuck around with Horner, right? And just give 100%. Him the gears a little bit
100%.
Because I don't know if I don't care how. Maybe you do care how good you are, but that's a tough personality to have in your garage, and that's a big shift in equilibrium. So who knows? But I don't think there's any chance he's ending up there next year. Next one. What are the chances that Lando wins the Drivers' Championship?
I'm going to go with that same 19%. I like that nice round number. But no, it ain't gonna happen, bro. It ain't gonna happen.
No.
No.
All right, Thomas.
What are the chances that Lando's going to win? Don't think so. I think Max is going to bounce back. He's going to kill it. I think Lando's going to come close, but he's not going to win the championship. So no way.
I'm going to go with a 0% chance that he's going to win. I think he'll come close. I think it'll be closer than we think it will be, but I don't think he's going to win. I still feel we've talked about this a lot, but I still feel like the whole mentality around winning, both from a team perspective and learning how to win as a driver, I think they're still working on that. So not this year, but we'll figure it out. Well, boys, this has been fun. I feel like there's only been one way to end an episode like this, and that is with our favorite game called
Name that sponsor.
Name that sponsor.
That game again is Name That Sponsor.
Just a side note, if anyone listening to this is a musician, a writer, someone who does jingles, anything like that, and you think you could do a better job, please let us know, because we're pretty sure you could do a better job too. And it'll be really nice to have something.
I think an 8-year-old with a xylophone could probably do a better job than us.
I'm gonna get my daughter to whip something up on the keyboard.
Oh, I would. Yeah, let's do that. I'm in that.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Can't be worse.
It can't be worse.
Maybe it can. All right. I feel like this week is a week of points. I feel like we got some good ones in here. I feel like we can all make some ground up. Even you, Thomas. All right. Unfortunately, Ed had to leave us early. So he's shit out of luck. It's too bad, Ed. Don't leave early.
That's it.
So first up is very topical for the week. CrowdStrike.
Ooh, tough bounce. CrowdStrike. They do online security and they are on Mercedes.
Online security, McLaren.
Thomas. What's going on, buddy?
I don't know.
How did you not get Mercedes?
Yeah, I handed that to you.
Yeah, cybersecurity. But come on, man. Like, you barely have to be paying attention.
I would have got flack from you if I would have copied Drew, so I tried to do something different. I can't.
You know what? I wouldn't have this time.
No.
Because it was the truth.
No. There's no copy. You can copy. You can listen. Copying Drew every week would actually be good for you, because maybe you get some points then.
It would make a pretty boring episode then.
I bless you with that strategy, though. Like, go for it. This is not about like being funny. It's just about being right.
That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you know it was Mercedes and chose McLaren to be different? Or did you not know what
I had honestly, it was probably a Mercedes, but I chose McLaren to be different. Yes.
But you didn't know, though.
I didn't know. I wanted to per se copy you, but I just didn't want at the same time, sound the same. So
new rule: Thomas goes first. All right, Thomas. Then you don't have to worry about this. Make up some bullshit excuse about I don't want to copy him.
Yeah.
I swear to God, if you don't get at least 1 point on this, we're just gonna cancel this game.
I'm so good.
Xbox.
It's a video game console. You know what? I don't know what team it is. I'm gonna say McLaren.
Okay, well, it is a video game console by Microsoft, and I'm gonna go with Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber. I actually don't know, but the green on green, I'm going for it.
You know, that's a good thought process. Xbox gaming console, we all know that. It's on Alpine, which does not seem like the right fit.
No, it's not. It's not it at all.
Not at all. Actually, wait, hold on. Some of them are on multiple cars.
Okay, yeah.
Well, this one, okay. Here we go. Another softball. Well, no, actually, no. This one's probably the most difficult. G42. Thomas, you go first.
I'm gonna say like a chip software for computers or like electronic stuff like that. Gonna say Haas.
I'm gonna go with a some sort of tech company that does like some SaaS business organization. And it's going to be on Red Bull.
All right. Wow, you're both wrong. It's more like it. So G42. Yeah, I don't think I can give any of these points. And I feel like we can't say SaaS company because that's just
any software.
That's too much of a catch-all, right?
Yeah.
But G42 is a technology group that invents visionary artificial intelligence for a better everyday. Born in Abu Dhabi and operating across the world. There we go.
And
so they are on Mercedes.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
They're all over that car. I actually thought you guys would have gotten that one.
You know what? Now that you say it, I can see the logo in my head. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's been named that sponsor. Let's go through Let's go through the total. So Drew with 13 points. Thomas, you're still behind Ed, even though he wasn't here with us, with 5 points, but 2 points today. So that is like a 60% increase on your points in one day. Ed has 7, and you finally surpassed our one guest, Chris, who had 4 points. So well done, buddy. You're on your way up.
Congrats, buddy. GG. You're doing it. You're doing it, buddy. You're doing it.
Boys, this has been fun as always. Thank you everyone for listening. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, check out the Discord, show notes, socials. Where are we? YouTube, Insta,
TikTok. We got
TikTok.
You want it?
We're everywhere. Yeah. You can find us.
We got some merch. Hit us up in the Discord if you guys are into some F1TN
that's right.
merch. Let's go.
There we go. So that's been it. This has been Formula One True North, the Canadian Formula One podcast. Back next week recapping Spa. At least you guys will be. I'm out for a few weeks. And we'll chat with you soon.
It's lights out and away we go.